Ashes has more updates than Final Fantasy 14, which is crazy. Like Final Fantasy 14 should be the bar of how much you should be aiming to communicate, but I cannot imagine a world in which somebody communicates more. And Ashes does it. Ashes spends more time talking to their community than Final Fantasy 14. It's crazy.
Well, all they have right now is talk. Like you can't go and play the game. They're not addressing issues of balance
They've
or
had some open beta, right? Or they've had some closed beta.
they're not even in the beta phase. Like,
but they've had people. They've had like server load testing and stuff where people have played.
Yes. But in terms of like the reality, right? So we see you brought up Final Fantasy, so in that game, there's like, hey, we've seen issues with machinist in certain pieces of content. Like, okay, they don't have like real telemetry data for Ashes yet, so that it's like, okay, they're not in the thick of it. They're not fighting the fight, you know?
No, they're not. And it's what makes it hard to compare. It's what makes New World hard to compare. Is New World is making the decisions of a 1 to 2 year old MMO, and so like the right decision for them is the wrong decision for 14, and what 14 is doing isn't going to work for New World. Like you're just in a different spot. You know, it's not like New World needs to have the Unreal system. It's like, I can't believe they've let all that content die that released in, that was yesterday. Like they're in a different spot as opposed to like Final Fantasy has content that's in game that's like a decade old. And so they're just in a different place. And Ashes has a tough road ahead of them. But like people will come and people will go. But like true hate, true frustration is earned. Just like true passion. They're both earned.
Yeah.
So nobody can be over invested in Ashes and nobody can be over hateful of Ashes. So like the nice thing is, as frustrating as it is to lose somebody to being mad at you, they can only be so mad. You didn't actually do anything to them. You didn't take their money and mismanage the game for 10 years. Like you haven't done anything bad. So like all you have to do to get them back is show them good gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, and
like how mad could they possibly be?
And as they go into alpha 2, they go into beta 1 or 2, like as that goes and plays itself out over the course of the next year and a half, 2 years, the thing is that when the game eventually is about to launch, that hype and that curiosity will bring anybody back. But having imagine 2 years of being like next level hyped for a game, and at the same time, all these incredible games continue to come out. And it's like, yeah, just go play those. Like you have, the beautiful thing about it is that it's not like, there's only one game that releases every 5 years. And if it's a dud, that decade sucks, so it's like you have a lot, but it's been interesting overall to see what people, I was like, yeah, it's obvious. And that's why the Riot MMO right now is king of the mind share when it comes to whenever anybody I talk to, they're like, yep, right, it's MMO is where it's at. What do you know about that game? Absolutely nothing. And I was like,
it doesn't have a name.
Right. Well, that's why it's like, it's perfect utopian MMO. Like I was always like, whenever I'd see people like critique, like, hey, this game just launched and it doesn't have, as much content as this 10-year-old game. I'm like, what game does? Like, where's this utopian MMO that comes out day one with 10 years of content? It's like, guys, we've been secretly developing this and testing it on an island.
It does happen. So Lost Ark is the answer to that.
Well, Lost Ark,
because people are like, oh my gosh, look at all this content.
But it was out for 3 years.
Right. And like Dwarf Fortress on Steam launches tomorrow. And people are going to be like, wow, this feels like 10 years of development.
Yeah.
That's because it has been. Or like anybody who discovers Guild Wars on Steam now.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, it says this game came out 2 weeks ago. Whoa. Yeah. It also just turned 10. So like it, like it's.
Well, yeah, that's like, a good point. The answer is to live.
If Xbox comes to console, or if World of Warcraft comes to console, there's going to be a whole new slew of gamers who may have never existed, but they've never touched it.
Yeah.
And so to them, it's going to hit the box office like a truck.
It's like,
they're gonna be
I've
like,
been here.
Wow, there's all this stuff.
And it's like the game's like, and I've been here the whole time. So what I hear you're advocating for is gamer ignorance. Stop being super fans of games and just discover them a couple years after release. It's the best way I discover a series. like
Oh
a
yeah,
show to
imagine
watch.
imagine if you
Yeah,
just now, to me recommending this, heard Breaking Bad was a television show, and you're gonna
right.
go watch it tonight, and I hope you enjoy it. And that's all I told you.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible, and you don't have to wait. There's no delays between the content.
Next
Oh
time we see
man,
Brian, he's eyes are bloodshot. I've been watching Breaking Bad for 7 days.
you'd be getting messages like, "Is Brian okay? We haven't heard from him in a while." So he started Breaking Bad.
He's gonna finish it.
He's gonna finish it. He's a finisher.
So I that is the answer. Like, but that's not Ashes.
Yeah.
That wasn't New World. That won't be Riot. Like, I don't know why, if you are hoping for that, you're going to pin it on a company that's never made an MMO before. Like, people are like, Classic's going to struggle because the content. It has content. Like it, at least we know it's there, as opposed to like, okay, but you're telling me this company that's never made content is better? Like the one thing we know about existing titles is they're existing.
Yeah.
So like that's their one thing in their court. That's the one thing they should get points for, is that they're real. Like, I'm hopeful for these games, but they're not real.
So let's talk about the counter side to that, because we've seen people say that, oh, this company has made good games before, therefore they're going to make good games in perpetuity into the future. And I think that one stings more. If Ashes comes out and it does not land, some people are gonna like be mad. People who put money into the pot and are like, excited, thinking that this is going to be the game that saves the genre.
Sure.
But okay, yeah, like there's plenty of red flags along the way. Like you knew these things going in. You either chose to ignore
Yeah,
them.
like if Nintendo made
Right.
an MMO.
Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they like, yeah, now we
They
have
made all these other games.
but I've seen people put up that same kind of thing and end up being disappointed. And I would argue that stings worse, because you're like, you have a track record of like a library of like these great, some of the biggest games that I've had like such a great experience with. And I put my faith that this kind of game would deliver, and it didn't. It's like, what happened? What went wrong? It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Very few companies can jump whole genres and make waves with their first title. Paradox Interactive comes to mind. Whether or not you like them, Blizzard comes to mind. Like, they came into the trading card game space with Hearthstone and are like, we're here. Like, they came into the MMO space with WoW and they're like, we're here. Like, it just,
Yeah.
so like, as mad as people get at Blizzard, they are one of the handful of companies that has been able to jump genre to genre to genre and make waves. That doesn't always mean they're the top. Overwatch made waves.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't necessarily considered top of genre, but it's big. And so it's made its impact over the years. So there are very few companies that can do that. Most companies need to kind of stay in their lane. And that's not a bad thing. They can make an entire career out of just producing game after game after game in their lane. Final Fantasy's tried at the MMO 3 times, and one of them most modern people won't ever play is Final Fantasy 11. One of them they had to delete. So like, yes, one of them's amazing, but it wasn't like they're 3 for 3. Like it's hard. It's really hard. And then to stay in that space and not run into all the problems of age, which is where Blizzard does tend to struggle, is after something ages, what are the odds that you can hit Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and then go into Diablo 4 without ever having pissed your audience off? Like, at some point, you're going to make people mad.
Yeah.
It's just time.
Yeah. I think that's inevitable. There's an interesting question here I want to highlight because this could be in and of itself its own video.